Hello everyone, this is Amigos Play. I'm Aaron from the Amigos, and this is Pray for Death. You may be surprised that an Amigos playing a DOS game. Well, you are correct, sir. We are doing Fighting Spirit this week, and I thought in the interest of delving into the past of Light Shock software, we would take a look at their PC offering, Pray for Death. Pray for Death was released in October of 1996, I assume just in time for the Halloween holiday, and was a fighting game along the lines of a Mortal Kombat meets Killer Instinct sort of affair, which of course all those borrowed heavily from Street Fighter 2. And at the time when I purchased this game, I was really desperate for a really good PC offering to have something to play on my computer. I pretty much had all the major fighting games of the day on the PC. I picked up FX Fighter, if you'll recall that one. I'm going to try to run through this. I used to be a decent hand with Cthulhu here, which you'll notice that Cthulhu is in this game, but alright, I'm going to try to talk and play. Anyhow, I had all the major games for the PC back in the day. When this was out, I was also getting the Mortal Kombat's 1 and 2 and 3. I had all three. And those are actually really good for the PC. I also had Super Street Fighter 2, which came with a gamepad, I believe, and I think I got the package that had both the gamepad, the game, and the movie, Street Fighter the movie with Raul Julia, which was is fondly looked back upon, but was god awful, of course. Raul Julia was tremendous. Everything else in it, you know, short of Cammy's backside, was garbage. I went and saw that on opening night, I'm afraid. Come here, you punk. But they had a package that came out with a gamepad, a decent gamepad, and a I got to do better than this to get through the game. I'm a little rusty. I haven't played this for about 20 years. But I got that package, of course. Then I had a FX Fighter. For those that don't remember, was a dive from the PC's perspective into the realm of a virtual fighter style 3D game. My hardware was not totally sufficient to run it. And come here. And I thought it was an okay game. It could have been a lot better. I thought it was decent. But when I saw this on the rack, Pray for Death, the cover art was impressive looking. I mean, it was the S&M girl looking, sexy and whooping a bunch of ass. And I was like, let's give this a whirl. So I picked it up, and I recall at the time when I brought it home, I was really disappointed in it, to be honest with you. I thought it looked a little bit, it looked hokey compared to what I was seeing in the arcades at the time, and what consoles were getting, I guess. I don't know what I expected either. Parts of this game are really polished, and parts aren't. I guess that's the best way to put it. The team behind this, which was Light Shock, again, they did the offering on the Amiga that we covered this week, which was Fighting Spirit. Now, Fighting Spirit was done by a different outfit, and you could tell there's not many similarities between this and that. Obviously, different platform, different sort of fighter. Fighting Spirit was a game that was more of a love letter to the Final Fight series, Art of Fighting, and of course with plenty of straight up rip-offs from Street Fighter 2. So, but it has its charm. The Amiga, it's funny in some ways. The Amiga and the PC had a lot in common about this era. The Amiga had longed for a decent fighting game. The crowd had to suffer through some bad stuff. Brutal Paws of Fury. The Street Fighter 2 port to the Amiga was hideous. The Body Blow series, which is interesting. I wouldn't call it total crap, but it was low end compared to the more modern fighters of the time. I thought Mortal Kombat 2 for the Amiga was pretty good, actually, given the situation with buttons and whatnot. I thought they did a real good job. But I think Fighting Spirit pretty much crushed everything else. So, with that in mind, as we fight Pantera here, well, we try to fight her. This chick always gives me trouble. But with that in mind, here is Pray for Death. So what's different? You've got your really beautifully rendered characters. I think they turned out pretty well for the most part. Some are better than others. I think these two are pretty good on the whole. They don't have as much movement as you would see in Street Fighter or Killer Instinct. Some characters are better than others. The Viking, I think, is pretty poor. Jan Fun is not great, in my opinion. Maelstrom is about half and half. But the concept is good. The PC was ready for this. It could pull it off, At the time, I remember this running pretty fairly on my computer, so it wasn't an issue there. One thing that we had was a lot of special effects. There was a lot of care given to polishing this in certain areas. Menu transitions, for example, are very interesting. The way the screen floats off or whatever. The explosion effects, the hit registry on the where the sparks fly. I mean, these are not something you would see every day. I don't think I'd seen these sort of effects on the PC in any fighting game. Really, up to this point, and I believe that it predates this, was probably one of the all-time great fighting games for the PC. And one of my all-time favorites, One Must Fall 2097, the fighting robot game. And you can see one of those transitions right there. I do like the fact that this thing has it keeps track of the damage you do, the different moves. It gives you extra points. But One Must Fall 2097, the robot fighting game or mechs fighting game, had an anime style. Was deeper than it looked. The characters were not big, and there was no scrolling really, but it was a beautifully done game. They worked well with what they had. I believe Epic Mega Games put that out, but it was quite a great game for its time. And really, I played it a couple years ago, and it holds up great. There are a lot of hidden moves in there, and it was an interesting game for its era. I'm looking at when it came out. So it would have came out in 1994. So it came out a few years ahead of this, which makes sense. Looking at the way this one does, in just 2 short years. By that time, you'd had your video card technology had came quite a long ways. The difference between the early 90s and the late 90s is quite astounding, and you can tell a major difference. This runs in a higher res. You can see right there is some sort of there's some scaling that goes on there. I've got this set on a lower difficulty. So I could whiz through it. I actually practiced a couple rounds before we started, and with mixed results. Really, Cthulhu is the only character I can play fairly proficiently. Now, I think this fellow, the magician, is interesting. When you'll notice when he falls, he sort of beams back up or sets up in a very strange way. So he kind of, which I always thought that was really neat. He's got some interesting moves. I will say I like the special moves in this. They are, most of the characters have similar move sets, but some of them get a little oddball. The background here I think is also neat. The backgrounds are pretty nice. Each character gets his own background, of course, a la, you know, Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, and they're beautifully done. Really, often. I mean, there are a couple duds in the mix, but I think this is one of the better ones. This game's #1 selling point, I think. Well, I mean, when I did research on this before laying down and playing it here, one thing kept coming up, and the one thing was Cthulhu's in it. Cthulhu, he's in it. It's amazing. Of course, anyone that is not aware of who Cthulhu is, it's a fictional creature, a great old one, as it was written by the late great H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft plied his trade in the early 1900s. He'd been dead for quite a while, but he came up with what was called the Cthulhu mythos. Of course, Cthulhu was the main man. It was a pantheon of kind of weird, quasi-alien gods that caused all sorts of trouble with man. And Cthulhu was the title character of the Call of Cthulhu, which is a very famous book. It's been filmed in various ways. I prefer the silent movie that came out about 10 years ago. Now this demon here, I think he's probably one of the weaker animated characters. He looks kind of dopey when he walks around. His arms are really long, and the way he gets up, it makes it hard to tell. God, I hate fighting him too. It makes it hard to tell what he's what the hell's happening. He's got this lightning and stuff all over him. Or I guess I don't know what his demonic powers or whatever. I never found him that difficult to defeat with Cthulhu at this level, but he can occasionally give me a run. He's got some interesting techniques. One thing about this game is that so few people have heard of it or seen it that there's not a whole lot of people out there that are proficient at it. I guess I don't think I've ever, with the exception of Dreamcatcher, who tagged me to do this game and go over Fighting Spirit. I don't think anyone's ever mentioned this game to me ever. So I'm assuming it didn't sell well, but you know, who knows? Anyway, to close up on Cthulhu, the popularity of the character and the author H.P. Lovecraft have really skyrocketed in the past decade or so. I mean, when I was a kid, just knowing who H.P. Lovecraft was amazing. Very few people knew, and having read any of his books was quite astounding. But, you know, there was a little in-crowd, the kind of the geek circle that, you know, would walk around and and say things that only another Cthulhu fan would know. But I've noticed here recently the creatures and HP himself have been more heavily featured in mainstream media and film, and there are things in the works. The H.P. Lovecraft also was the fellow that actually came up with the Necronomicon, which is actually probably more well known than Cthulhu from the Evil Dead series. Would be a good example of where you would have heard of, but it's been used time and time again over the years. But yeah, Cthulhu is one of his. Now in the books, Cthulhu doesn't really appear in a man-like state. He's he's often portrayed as a huge, bigger than Godzilla super monster. So I guess he's slumming. But that would explain why after his matches he sort of grows a little bit. So you can see we're progressing up the not like Mortal Kombat mountain here. Maelstrom's an interesting character. I like his backstory actually, because apparently he became so powerful he just killed his own army. He didn't need them. But I like some of what he does, but sometimes he just looks awkward. Like when he walks, he's all some of the characters. A lot of the characters in this look kind of awkward. He reminds me a lot of the Demon. Just kind of who could possibly stand like that? But in some ways, he also reminds me of the mechs in One Must Fall, who also look awkward, but they're mechs. I'll buy that. And I guess this guy's enchanted armor, so I guess he can stand however he wants. Maybe that's the secret to his fighting prowess. You'll notice the banners in the background waving. It's a real nice effect. The castle looks cool. Again, the lighting and stuff, it's all really top shelf. I think this game's... I often wonder why this game was not more popular. And, of course, we've touched on some of the reasons. But the characters aren't real relatable in a lot of ways. They're sort of all dark, really. I mean, I guess with the exception of Jan Fun... and you know, they're not very. There's not a lot of pleasing characters that you really can relate to, like in Street Fighter. I guess they tried to go more of the Killer Instinct route, but even Killer Instinct had, you know, some decent, some people that just like normal folks. This doesn't have any. It's a freak show. You know, I mean, hell, even. Pretty much any fighting game you could think of, there'll be a couple normal-looking guys, but you know, not this one. So you can see how he occasionally Maelstrom will give me trouble, but he's usually these guys on this level are very susceptible to low attacks, and Cthulhu happens to have a lot of really good, you know, lower body attacks. This is an interesting character, Anubai, who is the you know, the Egyptian dog god. He looks just like he walked right off a pyramid. I do like one of his. He's got one of the better. He's got one of the better killing, you know, fatality maneuvers where he just drops a pyramid on the guy, full size, or like a mini size pyramid, just falls out of the sky and just smushes him. And I also like the fact that when he wins his match, he howls like a wolf. That's kind of neat. He's kind of cool looking. I don't know why his blood is weird and purple, but you know, whatever. But I like his. Again, he's got a kind of a neat background. You know, the Egyptian thing. You know, another thing about this game I wanted to mention was that when you're, it's hard to get used to for me, and because the only other game I can remember seeing that in really is like the one that comes off the top of my head is Virtual Fighter. It's when your opponent's just laying there. You can just sort of start kicking the crap out of them. I mean, I see that's more of it's more of something that would take place in the 3D fighters, I believe, like Rival Schools and I know Virtual Fighter. There's probably a couple others that'll let you do that. Kick a guy while he's down. But in 2D fighters, I'm not sure I can recall right off the top of my head ever running into that. So it's real awkward to me. I have trouble for remembering to do it. The computer doesn't, especially at the higher levels, it'll kick the crap out of you. You'll also notice that these, occasionally we'll see it. Of course, you won't see it much with me, but you'll see this combo thing, and it'll come out. It'll say 3-hit combo. It'll give it a name, the Eyes of Ra or whatever. That's a throwback to your Killer Instinct. You know, you'd have your, you know, awesome combos, ultra, you know. Where the more combos you stretch together, the more you would, the more awesome the announcer would announce your maneuver. This is a weird broad here. Then those are the least functional wings of all time. I guess someone was a fan of the X-Men and saw what happened to poor Angel when he joined the Four Horsemen, and he ended up with those metal wings, and they could shoot blades, I guess. This chick is oh yeah. Every once in a while I get one off. This chick is not sexy, I'll tell you that. It's and I believe one of her fatalities is she flashes the other guy. You know, a la the chick from Killer Instinct. But You know, that would be disturbing. I mean, she's not hot. She's got the weird thing. Neither chick in this game is what I would call and someone you'd want to hook up with. I mean, this chick's got these bladed wings. The other girl just looks evil. She's got that gimp mask on and the claws. No, thank you. But I don't find this chick difficult in the least. She's pretty easy to take down. Well, I'll say that. I'm getting... Come here. But one thing, if you watch... there was a time where I could get these finished up, but I can't remember any of them. But they're not memorable for the most part. The finishers stink. Each character gets 2 finishers. One is a unique finisher. Like I said, a newbie will drop a pyramid on a guy. Cthulhu drops like it almost looks like an amusement park octopus, almost like a stuffed green octopus on top of you and smushes you. I know this guy here will drop a huge hammer on you, you know, like as big as half the screen. This guy will give me trouble occasionally. He's got one of the crappier backgrounds. I'm not as fond of this one. I mean, it's just kind of bleak. There's the Yog Sothoth combo. I do like the fact that they took the time to name these combos in a way that honors the fighter. Amuses me. But, excuse me. I think this is probably my least favorite guy. He's just, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. I like the concept, but he's just lame looking. There's no pizzazz to him. You know, I guess he's one of the friendlier looking characters, but that's about all I can say about him. But yeah, but the fatalities, like I said, all of them have a unique fatality, and then they sort of all do this other fatality that's not really a fatality. Like they would just lunge in and do a move, and a bunch of blood will splatter out, and then the guy will fall over, and they'll be like, you know, well done, or whatever, you've killed him. Well, you know, it doesn't look any different than any other punch, except a bunch of blood fell out and he fell over. So they sort of half-assed the fatality on that. But, you know, if they got 2, I don't mind it so much. Okay, we're making our way up to Mount Doom here. Oh, mirror match. Who knows? They're speaking in Cthulhu. Now, this water effect here is very impressive. This was probably a pretty rare treat. I mean, look at the water coming off when you jump and when they're standing. The ripple. Nice effect. This might be a tough fight too, because this guy can obviously does the same stuff. He can give me a little trouble here. Come here, you. The background otherwise is it's not really aesthetically pleasing, but I assume it was designed that way to make the reflection work better, be more interesting. And it's definitely eye-catching. I honestly don't remember ever seeing that effect on the PC up to this point. I've seen similar effects on the Amiga, but not at this level. I mean, this is quite good. Like I said, the people that had worked on this had some skills for sure. They, you know, which is all the more baffling as to why it's not fully realized as a good game. It's strange. It's like I said, there are parts of this that are really above par, and the special effects are one of them. You can see in the little puddle of light that comes, the puddle of water that comes up when he falls. I mean, that's impressive, you know. All right, moving it up.
Ready to die.
Okay. So this creature, I'm sure someone will have a better, I mean, I guess a lot of people would say like Silent Hill, right? Very Silent Hill-y. The way the head sort of shimmies like that in a very disturbing way, the blade arms. The first time I ever saw that sort of bizarre shake was probably, I want to say they did it in a movie called Jacob's Ladder that I saw long ago, but the one place I definitely remember seeing it was in the remake of the movie House on Haunted Hill. This guy sort of reminds me of something that would be in that. There's sort of a medical area behind him that looks like it's been trashed, and there was a medical facility in that, so I suppose he could also came from that. He's not, for one of the end bosses, I never found him that difficult. He's very wide, and he can get in on you, but, you know, again, he's susceptible to the same things a lot of the other guys are at this level. These guys get exponentially harder as you move on up. But I wanted to show all the characters, and so we could see all the backgrounds too, so I figured I'd just go with a fairly easy clip here. And that's the end of him. So we're going to take on the big man here. I like the interplay here between Cthulhu and death. What do you use for shaving? So here we are. I guess we're in hell or Styx. It's pretty interesting looking the way they've got it set up. Death can be a handful, so I'm going to give it a shot here. I make no promises though. And he can get hold of you, just whoop your ass. I mean, you can't do jack squat about it. I like the way he gets up. He's well animated. I mean, he's a unique looking guy. You know, I think he's very attractive fighting character. Got lucky there. You saw it said 5-year combo relay. That's I believe that was the city, Cthulhu City, the sunken city. So again, someone did their homework. All right. Oh. Spear to the gut. Oh, that thing's nasty. I got him on the ropes though. Oh. There it is. Now, I don't remember if I get to see an ending or not at this level. We'll find out. But that's a good taste of all the different characters. Yes. Pretty good score, I think, given the situation. Now, let's see if we see anything. How irritating, but that's what I thought might happen. Overall, though, an interesting game. I am playing, the CD version I have trouble getting it to work, so I've downloaded a version to run through DOSBox, which is why you're not getting the awesome tunes that are on the disc. You know, there's some pretty decent stuff on there, I thought it was a pretty good game, and it's funny, I enjoyed it more when I came back than when I played it originally. Now, maybe it's just that I haven't played it for a while and I missed it, but it's something. I think it's interesting. I don't know what Light Shock went on to do. I think they did they may have done some sort of fitness trainer that I think it was called New You Fitness First Personal Trainer. So they were around for a while because that came out, I think it was 2001. Like I said, previously what they did was some Amiga work. You've got your, like I say, you've got your fighting spirit and whatnot. But obviously long gone. There's not a lot on these guys, to be honest with you. They just sort of went away. I know the team that did Fighting Spirit was based out of Italy. I'm not 100% sure where the Light Shock is based out of. Who knows? Plenty of credits here though to go through, and you can't skip them. I noticed that when you try to skip them, it goes slower. So there you go. Well, hope you enjoyed a quick look at this. Overall, give it a favorable review. If you've got a way to run it, give it a shot. If you're into fighting games, I'm going to stick this on my arcade machine and give her a shot. It's there for the Amigos. Adios.